Welcome. It's about time we start our Unit 4 materials on pictorial drawings. Pictorial drawings are going to be very different from things we've drawn up to this point, but you're going to want to take a look in your course pack. That will give us the objectives as well as some practical written out information that supports everything we're going to talk about today. Pictorial drawing is a method of creating drawings that look like pictures, and by picture I mean what something would look like if you were standing next to it or if you snapped a picture of it. Now this is very different from the multi-view drawing stuff that we've been doing. In a multi-view drawing, things don't look like they normally do. But if we were standing outside of a house and you were looking toward it, well, this is what you'd see, right? Or it's at least a sketch of what you would see. So this is considered a pictorial. It's not a flat orthographic picture or a flat orthographic drawing. It's a what do I see observing it. And in orthographic drawing, remember there was the front and the right side and the top view. Well, in a pictorial view, you will see at least two of them, maybe all three of them, depending on the angle that you're looking at. So we're kind of switching gears from making things flat and unrealistic, but the correct size and shape for fabrication, to what does it look like. Here's another example of a pictorial drawing. This might be a little potting table for a garden, or it might be a island in a kitchen with some butcher block on top. Again, we don't just see the front view. We see the front, we see the top, we even see the right side. We see all three views at once. So that makes that a pictorial view. This little cap screw here has been drawn as if it was sitting in your hand. Like you're looking down at it in the palm of your hand, what would you see? And there's the head of the screw, and here's the threading. So again, like a picture, what does it really look like? In this image here, this is a computer-generated image, but this is a computer-generated pictorial. So this razor knife was modeled in a CAD system and rendered to have color and material and glossiness, but it's still a pictorial view of something because it looks like it would look as if it was sitting on the table. So these are all examples of different pictorial style drawings, and in some industries it's important to be able to draw specific ones. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to identify all three styles of pictorial drawing, and we're going to want to be able to make at least one or two of these. So now the difference between pictorial drawings and orthographic drawings, or the multi-view drawings that we've been doing, of course, is multi-view drawings show exact shape and exact size of the faces of the parts. Pictorial drawings do not. Okay, so why would we even draw them? Why would we bother with them? What's the point? Well, pictorial drawings are rather useful when we're talking to somebody who's non-technical, somebody who's not been trained to read blueprints or shop drawings or these multi-view orthographic drawings. Need something a little bit easier to understand, and that's where the pictorial drawing comes in. So they're simpler than orthographic drawings, multi-view drawings. They're also kind of dumbed down a little bit, right? Because we care about things we can see. And in multi-view drawing, we had to show everything, even the things we couldn't see, like hidden lines, right? Well, in pictorial drawings, we're not going to do that. We're not going to show things we can't see because, hey, you can't see them. There are three types of pictorial drawing styles that we're going to talk about. And again, you don't have to know how to do all three, but you do need to be able to identify all three. Okay, and I've got a little chart here that you can go and work with and fill in on your guided notes that goes along with this, because some of these are very easy to create. Some of these pictorial styles are very easy to draw in, and some of them are more difficult. So I've got a gradient here that goes from easiest to mid-level difficulty to very difficult. Now, there are also some styles that are very realistic when they are done. And then there are styles that are a little less realistic, and then there are styles that are not very realistic at all, even though they look kind of 3D. So what we want to figure out is where do the three styles we're talking about fall on this chart. And our first one that we're going to talk about is the most realistic pictorial drawing style. The trade-off, though, is that it's the most difficult to pull off. takes the most time and energy and effort to properly execute. And this pictorial drawing system is called perspective. The idea of perspective is rather simple. We have a horizon, right? That's where the sky meets the earth in the background here. And at the edge of the horizon somewhere, we have something called a vanishing point. And what we'll see is that all lines that are straight and going away from us tend to head toward that vanishing point. So here we're looking at a road with a median in the center, and notice how all the edges of the roadway and the curb are heading toward that vanishing point. Not only are the lines on the ground heading toward there, but look at the tops of the light posts. See, aren't they getting lower and lower? And if you drew a line across their top, you'd see that they are also heading toward the vanishing point. Now, what's the deal? Does the road really get skinnier down here than it is down here? Are the light posts really taller here than they are over here? Well, no, they're not, right? So what we're seeing is we're seeing a trick of perspective and distance. Things look smaller the farther away they go from us, right? So that's what this drawing style tries to replicate, how our eye naturally sees things based on this principle of aerial perspective. Drawing things in perspective is not that tough. One method to do it is to draw the front shape of your object like this. And then when you got it blocked in, find somewhere on the paper and create a vanishing point. And then what we do is we extend lines from all the tangent points and corners back to that vanishing point. Okay, and then with a little bit of estimation, we can think about how far back we want it to look, how far back we want to go to simulate the depth. And then we erase the stuff we don't need for these vanishing point lines. And when we're all done, we've got an image. Now, on small parts, it's not that tough to do that, but it's a lot of work for very little payoff in the end, to be honest with you. Most often you're going to see perspective drawings in a case like this, where we have a rendering of maybe a kitchen project for an architect or a builder. And they want to show the client, hey, when your kitchen is finished, here's what it's going to look like. So it is way more expressive and easy to understand for a client who's not used to looking at blueprints to know what they're going to get, looking at a picture like this instead of looking at a set of working drawings. If we look at this little drawing here, we see an art gallery. Now, do you notice how the high edges are all going down and the low edges are all going up, and they're all heading off somewhere down here, right, to that vanishing point down the end of the hall. This, of course, is the way we really do see things. So here's a picture. This picture was taken in a hallway, and you can see we have the same effect going on here. The tops of all the windows appear to be heading somewhere over here. Remember that exit sign on top of the door. And the floor line, where it meets the wall, same thing, it's heading up in this direction, isn't it? You could take a ruler and put it on top of this picture and figure out where the vanishing point is in the background here based on what you see. Right, the ceiling is wider here than it is down here than it is down there. So perspective is very realistic because it is the way our eye sees things. You might have done some perspective drawing. A lot of high school art classes spend at least a couple of months on this. So if you made it through high school art, then this is probably something you had done at some point. This drawing here is a bunch of buildings, and this doesn't have one vanishing point. It's got two. There's one on the end here. There's one on the end here, and depending on which street we're working on, the lines will either be receding back to this point, or they'll be receding down to this point. And same deal, you could take a ruler and put it on top of the window edges and the doorways, and you'll see that everything that's been drawn here recedes back to that one point. There's a lot of ways to do perspective drawing. I've seen people doing it where they have a string pulled up and down by a wire to create these edges that they need to make. And that's kind of cool. I've also seen people take big 4x8 sheets of plywood and put a nail on each corner and then use a stick of wood, like a 1x6 as a guide for drawing their receding lines heading down to that vanishing point. So lots of different ways this has been accomplished. Here we see that idea of grab the wire and pull it up or push it down as you need to create these lines going to vanishing points. Kind of cool. And there is one point perspective where all of our edges recede back to a single vanishing point. There is 2-point perspective where, depending on what side of the part we're working on, edges will go to one or the other, the right or the left vanishing point. And if we want to get crazy, now we're talking about 3-point perspective where we have a vertical vanishing point. Right? And this would be an aerial view. We're looking down on top of a tall building, and where we're looking, it seems wide. As the building goes down, though, it looks like it gets skinnier, right? So again, the building doesn't really get skinnier. It just looks that way because of aerial perspective. Here's an example in the opposite direction where the building looks very solid down here, and it looks like it gets much smaller as it goes up. This is a 3-point perspective drawing. Now, if you've done perspective in an art class at some point, if you've scribbled something in perspective, I'm going to just share this with you. Your art teacher didn't teach you how to do perspective correctly, okay? Mechanical perspective involves a lot of work, and I'm pretty sure most art teachers aren't busting out T-squares and drawing boards and then taking floor plans and rotating them at 30 degrees and setting up station points and station lines. Do you see the number of lines that are being projected from all these different corners for windows and doors and the edge of the building in order to figure out, well, where do these lines start and stop and how do they curve? This is a lot of work. So, pretty sure that most of us who did high school art didn't do anything like this. We were just guessing, okay? But this is proper mechanical perspective. This little set of stairs here, very cool, but look at all the lines that went into making the set of stairs, right? There's 5 times more lines on the paper than there are steps, or lines for the steps. It's a ton of work to do perspective correctly. Okay, and then once we've drawn things in perspective, if you're a real glutton for punishment, you can learn how to make your shadows in perspective too. So we don't really work with perspective in industrial drawing for a couple of reasons. One is because it's taught in the architecture program very effectively. So our architecture instructors in the introduction to architecture classes, they do a great job teaching students how to draw things in perspective, because for building and construction and architecture, being able to draw or at least sketch in perspective is still an important skill. Okay, but for industrial drawing, the amount of work that this requires to make a pictorial view is excessive. So we stay away from perspective because while it is the most realistic system, it is also the most difficult and time-consuming to create. So what we're going to talk about instead is the easiest of the pictorial drawing systems. Now there's a trade-off, right? It's very easy to do, but the trade-off is that it's not going to be very super realistic. And this system is called oblique.